Analysis of stakeholder forces.
Stakeholders create opportunities and threats in the external environment of the firm. A stakeholder is a person's or organization's that affects or is affected by the actions or inactions of another person's or organization's. NGC has many stakeholder relationships whose enhancement and maintenance are critical to its success. For example, stakeholder relations with the DoD and members of the F-35 Joint Strike Fighter program. More specifically, to accelerate its research and feed its never-ending search for talent, NGC announced plans in December 2009 to invest millions to fund graduate fellowships and other research for at least 5 years at Carnegie Mellon's CyLab, MIT's Computer Science and Artificial Intelligence Lab, and Purdue's Center for Education and Research in Information Assurance and Security.48. Edward Freeman initiated the seminal research in stakeholder analysis. In his 1984 book, his approach to strategic management focused on creating mutually beneficial stakeholder relations, that is, win-win situations. He asked: 49. 1. Who are our stakeholders? 2. How do stakeholders affect each division, business and function, and its plans? 3. What are our assumptions about critical stakeholders? 4. Have we allocated resources to deal with our stakeholders? In 1994, Freeman developed the principle of who or what really counts. To whom, or what, do the managers of the organization have to pay attention? 50 This principle moved away from Freeman's 1984 proposition and created the possibility of win-lose situations. Thus, it was not only a question of who the stakeholders were, but also which stakeholders controlled management's attention, to what degree, and why. In 1997, Mitchell, Agill, and Wood used Freeman's principle of who or what really counts to argue, stakeholders with powerful, legitimate, urgent claims gained preferential access to management. 51. In 1996, Hinthorn proposed a predatory view of stakeholder relations in an analysis of deregulation in the U.S. airline industry. 52 The use of the predatory prey analogy suggests a strategic management style oriented to acquiring assets and removing obstacles with little or no regard for the human element in stakeholder relations. Hinthorn argued that in complex, high-stakes situations, the leaders of some organizations developed predatory management styles to achieve their organization's goals. These leaders used power and force relations, for example stakeholder coalitions, and legitimacy to secure their goals. For example, they used institutional structures of power, that is, executive, judicial, legislative, and regulatory, at the federal, state, and local levels to secure organizational goals. They preferred win-win strategies, but they also had some power to select, exploit, and destroy stakeholders, also exclude or silence stakeholders, to secure organizational goals, albeit while giving the appearance of pursuing legitimate goals. Obviously, stakeholder relations are not always amicable. In stakeholder disputes, there are essentially two options for resolving the disputes: collaboration or litigation. There may be appeal processes, for example, in working with government agencies, and arbitration and mediation are used. Litigation tends to be the preferred process of dispute resolution in the United States, and it is costly and time-consuming. If the disputants are sincerely interested in avoiding litigation and resolving their dispute on amicable terms, they may find that collaboration is the preferred process. However, there is a caveat: the disputants must share some critically important superordinate goals. Mazzafer Sheriff, 1958, defined superordinate, that is, common, goals as goals that are compelling and highly appealing to members of two or more groups in conflict but which cannot be attained by the resources and energies of the groups separately. In effect, they are goals attained only when groups pull together. 53. Sheriff's research validated two hypotheses. 1. In conflict situations, groups will tend to cooperate to achieve superordinate goals, and 2. The more frequently the groups cooperate successfully to secure superordinate goals, the lower the conflict will be. Collaboration is widely used in stakeholder disputes over natural resources, for example, forest restoration and the protection of endangered species. It is typically less costly and more flexible than litigation. It is time-consuming but no less so than litigation. Wondalek and Yaffe studied over 200 collaborative situations, and their book is a good reference. 54 Collaboration usually faces significant threats. First, there is competition, for example, egos, turf wars, self-interests, and win, lose and us, them mentalities. Second, there are conflicting interests, for example, different core values, objectives, and strategies. Third, there is mistrust. Fourth, there is the compliance with U.S. laws and regulations that create unnecessary project delays and paperwork. Fifth, there is ineffective management of the collaborative process, for example, lack of process skills and resources. Sixth, there are comfort zones, for example, fears of change, collaboration, public interaction, lawsuits, and taking risks. Seventh, there is the need to secure the input of all likely stakeholders. 55.